Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be talking about how sex with a narcissist can destroy you. Sex with a narcissist can be psychologically, emotionally, and even physically damaging. Of course, what may spring to mind for many of you may be the trauma bonding. Because of course, narcissists will use sex to deepen their control over you, so that it makes it harder for you to leave, even when they mistreat you. And this is typically something that all narcissists will do, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. Of course, with those narcissists who are malignant or more self-aware, they will use this tactic consciously. They will use the trauma bonding so that they have more control over you, so that they can get away with harming you. Because of course, normally, you're going to be running away at the first sign of mistreatment. But they use the trauma bonding and they use sex to keep you trapped even while they are harming you. So this is one tactic to look out for. And yeah, it's something they like to do. And it's how they use sex to destroy a person. And of course, these intense highs and lows, it's what creates this addiction. It's intermittent reinforcement. It is rewards and punishments at irregular intervals, at random. And this is something that they use in video games, social media, pornography, in gambling. And they use it because they know that it works. It's a social validation loop. Many narcissists do this unconsciously. They're not even thinking about it when they do it. But then, of course, there are those narcissists who may be higher on the spectrum. They may be malignant. They may be more self-aware. And they know when they are using this tactic. Narcissists are highly emotionally manipulative. So they may withhold sex from you as a punishment. First, they will use it to get you hooked, and then later on, they will use it as a bargaining tool. Or they may engage in love bombing solely to keep you hooked. And of course, this can leave you feeling confused, rejected, or desperate for their approval. Over time, you may experience a loss of self-worth because they will make you feel like your value is tied to how well you can satisfy them. So they may compare you to other people, criticize you, or make you feel inadequate. And of course, there is always this double standard. When they want to have sex, when they want to be intimate, when they want to do anything, it's like when they say jump, they expect you to say how high. But then when you want something from them, then they're nowhere to be found. Then they may just be off with a new source of supply. And It could be very draining, you know, when they're always on you, they're always expecting from you. And especially when you're not getting back in return. But this is what they will do. They will put you down and make you feel insecure, as though you exist to perform for them and to win their validation, because this is what they were taught in their childhood. They were taught that to be accepted, they have to perform. They have to put on an act. And so this is what they do. This is why they train you to be this way, because it's all that they've known. They've never known any other way to be. So it all revolves around performance with narcissists, where you're running endlessly on this hamster wheel in an effort to please them, all while at the same time they are putting you down, criticizing you, so that you end up not even being able to please them anyway. As I spoke about in the live video yesterday, it's really like a form of self-harm, self-sabotage. They use you to harm themselves, to sabotage themselves. Because clearly the right thing to do, if they're using you and needing you as a source of supply, they should be taking good care of you, not putting you down, not constantly criticizing you. But of course, this is what they do. Together will make you feel like your value is tied to how well you can satisfy them. It's all about what you can do for them, what you can be for them. And they feed off your emotional energy. So when you're having sex with a narcissist, it can leave you feeling empty, drained, or even violated, because they take from you without giving genuine intimacy in return. So sex with a narcissist might not even feel good. And you know, it's always a red flag when you see that someone is self-absorbed, lacking empathy, especially in the beginning. It should reveal to you that sex with them is not going to be good anyway. Of course it's not, without that care and concern, without the compassion for you. If they're not even considering your feelings, your needs. And you should really take note of that, you know, for when they withhold sex from you. Just to remind yourself that it's not going to be that good anyway, because this is what happens, you know, when you are having sex with a narcissist, they're feeding off your energy, your emotions. And that's why it leaves you feeling empty and drained, and even violated sometimes. And of course, there's also the risk of infidelity and STDs. Many narcissists are serial cheaters. They lack empathy, so they may expose you to emotional betrayal or even physical risks without concern for your well-being. Because remember, it's all about themselves. It's all about what they want in that exact moment. Narcissists often engage in sexual coercion and objectification. So they may pressure you into things that you're uncomfortable with, disregarding your boundaries. And over time, this can lead to a loss of personal agency and even PTSD-like symptoms. And all of this really just erodes healthy intimacy, because true intimacy requires emotional connection. But with a narcissist, sex is about power, control, and ego boosting. So this can leave you feeling used rather than loved. By staying sexually involved with a narcissist, it deepens the cycle of abuse. It makes it harder for you to break free and heal. When you are having sex with a narcissist, it has nothing to do with connection. It has nothing to do with you as a person. They objectify you. And even then, it has very little to do with pleasure or sexual gratification. They make it about your performance, yes, but really all that is about is just them dominating you. Them having power and control over you. That's what boosts their ego. Because if there was any pleasure or gratification involved, without them having this power and control over you, it wouldn't be satisfying for them. And this is how you know that it really is just all about power and control. And that's what boosts their ego. They don't really care about it other than that. And this is why what happens when you start setting boundaries, when you start to see through the illusion, when you start pushing back, they don't even want to have sex with you anymore. Because it's not about the physical pleasure or gratification. Clearly, it's not about connection. It is really just about power, control, and ego boosting. And that's all they're really concerned with. And this is why once you start setting boundaries, you start pushing back against their control, then they withhold sex from you. And this may be because they've got another source of supply, or they may just be using pornography. Because this is what narcissists often like to do as well. And that could be a funny thing sometimes, because many of you, especially if you're with a somatic narcissist, you're with a narcissist who's quite physically attractive, you're automatically going to conclude that they must be cheating on you. They must have a new source. If they're not having sex with you, you automatically conclude that, especially, if you're with a somatic narcissist who was highly sexually active in the beginning, but then they pull away from you. But actually, no. Yeah, sometimes that could be a possibility, but not always. Because even somatic narcissists, and just narcissistic people in general, they do have a tendency to use pornography and masturbation more than most people. They just tend to be more inclined to engage in that because of the traits of narcissism. They are self-absorbed. They lack empathy. It's all about their personal gratification. And of course, what empowers them more than anything than just worrying about their own needs and just not having to worry about anyone else. When they're having sex, whether it's with you or anyone else, they have to take into consideration that they're with another person. And they may feel pressured. They may feel like it's a chore. They may be very lazy. Masturbation or watching pornography, it requires far less energy for them to engage in that. And, any energy that they are exerted from that activity it's all just for themselves anyway. And yet many of you may never have thought about it in that way, but you know, sometimes this is the case. It's not always that they're cheating on you. It's not always that they've got a new source. Sometimes they may just turn to pornography and masturbation. But if you think that they're cheating on you, then they may take advantage of that. They may start leaving signs for you to find. They may just leave fake clues that they are cheating, just to wind you up. Even though they're not, even though they may not even be interested in that. But they will do that anyway, just because they know it's going to make you overthink and just wonder where they are, what they're doing. This is what narcissists do, you know, they're very childish and immature. They love to play games. They love to mess with people's minds. But also, you know, sometimes, yeah, they will cheat. Narcissistic people, they're not only more inclined to masturbate and use pornography on a regular basis, but also, yeah, they are more inclined to cheat. Because it's that self-absorption and the lack of empathy. And you never know who they may be cheating with. Sometimes it can be someone who you least expect, as some of you may have experienced already. You know, it can be one of your close friends sometimes. Narcissists, they often like to go after your best friends, or even people in your family. Sometimes they even try to seduce your own children. And this is why you've got to be very careful with them. They love to cross boundaries. Because that's what gives them a sense of power. Nothing makes them feel more powerful than crossing people's boundaries, than doing things that they know they're not supposed to do. Especially when they can get away with it. It just makes them feel powerful. And this is why, yeah, you got to be very careful. You got to keep a close eye on them. You never know what they may be up to. And I've heard so many stories already. Narcissists seducing the victim's family members, best friends, sometimes their own sister, their children. This is what they do. That's really the only thing that brings them joy, you know, it's just crossing people's boundaries. And that's really all that it is with you, is just they only really enjoy sex if they feel like they're crossing a boundary with you, if they feel like they're turning a no into a yes, if they feel like they're getting something they don't really deserve, if they feel like they're getting something for nothing, or they're just getting something and giving you nothing back in return. This is what they live for, and this is really the only thing that makes them feel alive. It's when they can exploit people, cross boundaries. They just can't enjoy normal sexual relations. It's just something they have an inability to do. And that's why everything with them is abnormal. They just can't find fulfillment in normal sexual interactions. And it's really sad when you think about it. And this is why many narcissists, they may have these extreme fetishes, such as BDSM or other things. And yeah, they may try and get you into these things as well. And you have to be really careful with that, because it starts off so small. But they try and get you into something different, and then gradually it escalates and it becomes more extreme, more dangerous. They love just risk-taking behavior. Even when it comes to sex. They may try to get you to have sex in public places, doing things unlawfully. And all under the guise of fun. This is why you're going to be very careful with narcissists, because it's like, it's meant to be fun. And they'll even tell you that. They'll be like, why are you so serious about it? Why are you so guarded? This is meant to be fun. Of course, it's fun for them. I mean, you may be the one who is at risk of harm. Or if anything goes wrong, they're going to blame you. So of course it's fun for them. They have no responsibility. And they don't really care about what happens to you. So this is why you're going to be very careful with them. You never know what they might try and get you into. But above all else, you really got to watch for the trauma bonding. Because this is one of the main ways that they trauma bond you, is through sex. I mean, think about it, it's very difficult for them to trauma bond you if there's not even any sex involved. And this is why, it seems like from the very beginning, you ever notice how with a narcissist, it's like everything revolves around sex? It's like it's all they can think about. It's because it's what they use to control their victims. And many of you may think, maybe they use it because that's their strong point. Maybe, because many narcissists are very sexy. But actually, no, it's not. Because if you really think about it, was sex with the narcissist even that good? Was it really? Or was it really just these fantasies that you already had in your mind, that you kind of associated with them, that they got you to associate with them, which is part of the trauma bonding? And not only that, but they also shared a fantasy with you. That's really all it was. They were just feeding a fantasy. But as for actual sexual skill and performance, narcissists are typically lacking in that area. And the reason why is because they're just all about themselves. I mean, they lack empathy. They can't even share your feelings and experience. And this is why many of you who may feel dissatisfied in your sexual experience with narcissists, and you may wonder, why can't they get it? Why didn't they understand, what makes you tick? How can they, why doesn't it click with them? And this is it. This is because of that lack of empathy. They can't put themselves in your shoes. They can't feel what you feel. It's not always about them withholding and, they don't want you to feel good. I mean, yeah, that's a part of it sometimes, but also they don't even know what to do. they don't even know what to do for you. And, you know, that's what produces that disconnect, that detachment, is that they don't know what to do to make you feel good during sex. And it's also that loss of motivation, because everything, you know, it's really all about themselves. It's all about, you know, what is going to enhance their control, their power over you, so that they can keep getting supply. And that's really what's always at the forefront of their minds. That's all they're ever really thinking about. And couple that, you know, with the lack of empathy. And it's no wonder why there is so much dissatisfaction, frustration, and resentment in relationships with narcissists. I'm gonna come over to this side now because I know it's getting a bit, there is always a lot of shouting here, regardless of whatever hotel I go to. But yeah, sex with a narcissist will destroy you. Just like with any other part of a relationship with a narcissist. It's no different. They're really no different in the bedroom as they are with anything else. And this is why you're really just better off avoiding having sex with them. But what you will notice is that, and you know, you may have really wanted sex with them for such a long time. It could have been for months. It could have been for years sometimes, I've heard from some of my clients. They didn't have sex with the narcissist for years. And it's like that exact moment, you know, when it clicks with you, when you get it, that as long as you have any form of association or contact with them, that's the very thing that's destroying you. Once you realize that and you begin to pull away, then they start coming after you. Then they want to have sex with you. Once you reach that point when you experience like a breakdown, you've like given up, you just can't do it anymore, then they want to have sex. They want to be intimate then. And sometimes they can become very forceful. They can engage in sexual coercion. They can be very dangerous. And this is why, like I always say, you know, when you go grey rock, when you go limited or no contact, you do have to be very careful, because you never know how they might react. I mean, it's one thing for them to pull away. They feel like if they want to pull away, if they want to withhold, then it's justified. They can always rationalize that in their minds. But for you to do that, they do not like it when you pull away, when you withhold sex from them. That's something they can't stand. And that's why the moment that you do pull away, the moment that you limit your sexual contact with them, that's when they will try to coerce you into sex. And that's when they will try to coerce you into sex. And you know, it's absolutely devastating, because you know, as I spoke about with one of my clients, they may have withhold sex from you for months or even years, and then you pull away, you realize how harmful this is to you. And then it's like the moment you pull away, the moment you no longer want sex from them, then they coerce you into sex. And even then, even though you finally get it, when you don't even want it anymore, even then you're just left feeling used, violated. It's really sad, but this is what they do. And they can just make you hate sex. They can make you despise intimacy. They can make you just not even want a connection with anyone anymore. Because although, you know, they typically so desperately want some form of bond or connection with you, it just revolves around themselves. It revolves around just robbing you. But yeah, that's my take on how sex with a narcissist can destroy you. But let me know about what you've experienced with the narcissist in your life. Write it down in the chat below. Let's talk about it. Druid VW says they certainly do have a problem for every solution. Oh, they do, because they don't really want a solution. Yeah, they want you to try and just find as many possible solutions as you can. But really, you know, the only solution is for them to change, for them to be a better person, for them to correct their mistakes. Of course, as we know, that's something they're never going to do, and this is why they have a problem for every solution. And despite that, they will always expect you to do the work, you to take responsibility. Heige Homestead says them enjoying being evil will always be hard to understand. I accept it, but I don't really get it. Yeah, of course, you know, for us it can be very difficult to understand because our brains are wired differently. Their brains are miswired. So they associate pain with pleasure. They associate other people's pain with pleasure. Of course, we associate people's pain with our pain, but it's not like that for them. They don't think that way. Warren Van Beek says, still think it's pretty risky to label people narcissists without a medical diagnosis. Hope we are discussing diagnosed narcissists. I don't know, that seems like quite a contradictory statement. I mean, so you want to discuss diagnosed narcissists, but then at the same time you think it's risky to label them narcissists. This is more of a generalized video. I mean, I'm not a doctor. As you can see, I'm not sitting in a doctor's office. I'm just talking to you live from my hotel room. I have been researching narcissistic personality disorder for the last 7 years. But you know, it's extremely rare that anyone actually gets the diagnosis anyway. So we can't really discuss diagnosed narcissists. But it's so rare that any narcissist actually goes to seek help and gets the diagnosis. So it'd just be very few people in the world could relate to that anyway. Instead, I prefer to discuss, narcissists. I think most people, they know there's a difference between a narcissist and someone who has MPD. Typically, they're two different things. A narcissist is really just someone who has, a few narcissistic traits. They're maladaptive, they refuse to change, self-absorbed, lacking empathy, exploitative. That may not be enough to give them the clinical term of MPD, but I'm sure it's enough to make you want to watch this video to try and understand, where their behavior is coming from. Drude VW says, I don't need to be a proctologist to know an a-hole when I see one. Actually, I've seen from several of the most specialized psychologists in narcissistic personality disorder. I've heard from several of them on YouTube. They said that victims, survivors of narcissistic abuse, are going to know a narcissist better than anyone. Better than most psychologists in this world. Of course we are, because we've had that direct first-hand experience with them. So who better to ask than an actual victim of one? You're going to know what it's like. And of course, there's no coincidence that I can make a video about this and so many people around the world can relate to it. Because when you're dealing with someone who's highly narcissistic, I mean, they're all very much the same. And this is how in the DSM-5 they can outline the 9 traits of them. Warren Van Beek says, I know, I'm being a little bit of a hater. Please take care. Sorry, y'all, for coming off as mean. No, it's not. It's not that you're being a hater. It's not everything is black and white, where you're like either with us or against us. It's just, if you're going to give a claim on something, you really need to expand on it. And, just explain why you think that. Give an opportunity for discussion, for a debate. But to be honest, as Dr. Arnie has mentioned in her videos, she's talked about how, it's very difficult for anyone to ever get the diagnosis for their narcissistic partner. But it's like, does it really matter? If someone has stolen from you, if someone has manipulated you, abused you, deceived you, betrayed you, cheated on you, lied to you, future faked, smeared you, discredited you, do you really need for them to have a diagnosis for a disorder, to know that what they're doing is wrong? Of course not. It's not like, oh, as long as they're not a diagnosed narcissist, it's okay. Okay, you can steal, you can cheat, you can betray, you can kill, you can do whatever you want. No, of course not. It's not like that. It's not just the be all end all, just because they're not a diagnosed narcissist, then that makes it okay. Actually, no. There may be diagnosed narcissists, diagnosed psychopaths out there who aren't doing half the things that have been done to you. Now that's important to remember. Amanda Surley says, I had childhood trauma, terrible childhood. Yeah, I'm an empath. It's no excuse for what they intentionally do to people. They know exactly what they're doing. That's it, I myself, as I've spoken about in past live videos, I've experienced a lot of childhood trauma. Just as many of us have, and we don't do the things that they do. What it really comes down to is weakness. These are weak, pathetic excuses for people. And that's what this really is. Because of course, if they had the emotional strength, the emotional maturity, they wouldn't be doing the things that they do. It's because they're weak internally. And that's really what separates us. It's that we are strong and they are weak. Like your Homestead says, Warren, you haven't been a hater, but you're all trying to deal with really negative treatment. I myself, I find it very strange. I mean, it's always an ongoing dispute. There's an ongoing arguments in pretty much every video that I make. It's like, are we really talking about this? If you see someone on the street attacking someone, you see a man attacking a woman, just for no reason at all, just coming out of nowhere, just hitting it. Are you really gonna be standing there sticking up for that person? And thinking, oh, we can't diagnose him. He's not a diagnosed narcissist though. We're not gonna be making such a case for that, are we? That's something you can worry about afterwards, but the main concern should be what these people are doing, the harmful acts. And of course, there's a time and a place afterwards, yeah. Once they are they're taken into custody, they're held accountable. Of course, we should then explore what has happened to this person. How did they get to this point? What made them this way? What have they experienced in their lives to cause them to become abusive? But first, we have to focus on, the immediate harm that's being caused to people. But I always say, I'm not saying that everyone who watches my videos is dealing with an actual full-blown narcissist. Of course not. I mean, narcissistic personality disorder, it's not rare. It's not uncommon. I mean, you think about it, it could be up to, different doctors say different things, but it could be anything from 1 in 100 people to maybe 1 in 6 people. So you're likely to come across these people on a daily basis, if you do go out often. It's not anything rare. But it's pretty much a guarantee that if you're in a room of 10 people, not 10 people, if you're in a room of 100 people, one of them has to be a full-blown narcissist. And as for those with narcissistic traits, I mean, it's going to be much higher than that. It could be just 4 or 5 people in a room, and one of those people could have high narcissistic traits. And I've seen other statistics that up to 10% of the population could be psychopathic. So all you need is 10 people. One of them could be a psychopath. So this is everywhere. There's so many people like this. There's so many personality disorders out there. So many toxic traits. But yeah, I've got to end this video here now because I do have a coaching session coming up in a bit. But I hope you found this video helpful. Talking about how sex with a narcissist destroys you. Because it does. Sex with a narcissist is highly destructive. Worsens the trauma bond. This is why the best thing we can do is to limit sexual contact, just as to limit all contact with a narcissist. Sex is no different. It's never going to be like just any kind of contact with a narcissist is bad, but then sexual contact can be healthy or beneficial. No, of course not. Any contact with a narcissist is not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for anyone. And even they know that. They know that better than anyone. This is why they have no real contact with themselves. This is why they operate with a false self, because they know that them having any contact with themselves is no good for them. It doesn't make them feel good, and they know that. But yeah, this is it. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Let me know your comments down below. I read your comments every day. If you're new here, subscribe and click all notifications. That way you will be notified when I go live again. And your donations are greatly appreciated, no matter how small. You can donate by going to my PayPal. It is paypal.me/Narc Survivor. If you would like guidance or support on your healing journey, you can book a one-on-one coaching session by going to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And also you can follow me on my Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. Got the donations link down below in live chat. But again, don't forget to comment down below in the comment section as well. I read your comments every day. And it also helps the algorithm so that we can get those videos out there to everyone who needs to see it. But yeah, thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. Thank you all, I appreciate you. And I will talk to you in another one very soon.